and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 14, the final day of the very first Spring Craft Countdown event. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been sharing a brand new spring-themed paper craft with you to make with your Cricut each day. I really hope that you've enjoyed all the projects, but there is one more, and here it is. We're back to layered cardstock today, and isn't this just the cutest little teddy bear that you've ever seen? He is very, very detailed. In fact, this has one of the most amount of pieces of any layered design I've ever done. But I think it's totally worth it because he is adorable. Look at all of the layers in there to see all the bits of cardstock that make up this bear. But don't worry if that seems a little bit daunting. I'll show you a couple of different ways you can simplify it in Cricut Design Space if you don't want to use quite so many bits of card. Let's get started. This project is part of the 2026 Spring Craft Countdown. Download the cut files for free for the first 24 hours after this video goes live using the links in the video description or by visiting craftwithsarah.com/spring26. After 24 hours, the cut files for this project can be purchased from craftwithsarah.com/spring26 files. Or get the entire Spring Craft Countdown plus 35 extra bonus files from craftwithsarah.com/spring26 bundle. The download comes in a zip folder. You need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into your cutting machine software. For instructions on how to do this, visit craftwithsarah.com/help and choose Cricut, Silhouette or Scan and Cut. Within there are dedicated help guides on topics such as how to upload SVGs, how to modify them to make custom projects, framing tips, and how to cut cardstock with your type of cutting machine. If you have any questions, email hello@craftwithsarah.com. Now, on with today's project. To make this teddy bear design, you will need a Cricut machine or similar and a cutting mat for your machine. I prefer the light blue, which are the light grip mats, but you can also use the green mats, which are standard grip. You'll need cardstock in all of the colours to match the design. And this is a thick design, there's lots going on, so you'll need quite a lot of cardstock. You'll need craft glue. My favourite is Barely Art glue, but I also like Collal. The reason I like these glues is they don't bend or wrinkle the card like some glues can do. The Barely Art glue has a really thin nozzle on it, whereas the Collal's is thicker, so you might want to also get some needle tip applicator bottles if you're using the Collal, so that you can put it in these to make it easier to get the glue into the smaller parts of the design. To add dimension, use foam squares, also called foam pads. You can get them in lots of different brands and shapes and all sorts. Mine are from Dot & Dab, and these ones are 5x5mm and 2mm thick. If yours are really big, you might need to cut them smaller with scissors to fit into some places in the teddy. Optional but very helpful is a scraper tool to help get all of the leftover bits of cardstock off of your cutting mat. Similarly, a brayer tool is helpful to roll over your cardstock after you've put it on your mat to make sure it's really well stuck. If you don't have a brayer, you can use the scraper tool and do the same thing, or use a rolling pin from your kitchen. This is what the teddy bear looks like loaded into Cricut Design Space. He loads in at a nice size to cut, which is 7 inches tall and 7.8 inches wide, but you can make him bigger or smaller if you want. To do that, make sure the padlock icon between the width and the height boxes is closed. If yours is open, click it to close it. Then you can type either the width or the height, and the other measurement will change in proportion. Although the layers on this are fairly simple to cut because there are so many of them, I don't recommend going smaller than about 5 inches tall. You can see all of the layers by opening up the layers panel, clicking the arrow next to it down here. There are lots and lots and lots in this project. If you want to save your cardstock and make it a little bit simpler, you can remove the background and just cut the teddy bear. To do that, first click the design and then ungroup the layers with the ungroup button at the top of the layers panel. Then scroll down the layers, keep going until you see the one that looks like the outline of the whole teddy bear shape. Underneath that are 2 grassy layers. Click on the first grassy one and then press the delete key on your keyboard, and then keep clicking and deleting as you go down all the rest of the layers. You can see just how many bits of cardstock we're getting rid of by doing this. I'm going to keep going, and then all of those are done and I'm left with just the teddy bear. If you want to simplify him even further, you could remove the body and just cut his cute little face. So to do that, again, look down at the layers panel until you see an outline of the head in the goldy brown colour, and underneath that are 2 ovals pointing in different directions. Those are the little bits that sit behind his ears. Underneath that, you've got the yellow circles of the dungarees. Click on the first circle, and then again, we're going to keep going, delete with the keyboard on each of these to get rid of them. And then you're left with just the face. Don't worry though, the deleting is not permanent. You can restore the whole teddy bear in his full glory by going back into your uploads at any point. Here's my complete teddy bear design, and I'm going to cut mine at the size it originally loaded in at, which was 7 inches tall. Connect to your machine using the option up here, save your project if you want to, and then press make. That will separate out all the colours for you. You can change the paper size in the drop down here, and then if you want to, you can click and drag to move things about to take up less space on your cardstock. Just make sure that nothing overlaps like these 2 shapes are currently doing, otherwise it won't cut out properly. I was hoping I could fit that next to that one, but it doesn't look like it will quite go, so I will need to still cut them one underneath the other. You would need to change the paper size for each of the colours individually. When you're happy with how all of your sheets are looking, press continue and follow the on-screen instructions to get everything cut with your Cricut. If you're new to cutting cardstock with your Cricut, or if you have a different type of cutting machine, head to craftwithsarah.com/help for full video guides. Here are all the pieces of my teddy bear cut out, and I've laid them all one on top of the other, following the assembly guide that's included in the download folder. You don't have to do this, but it's a good way to check that you're happy with how all the colours are working with each other and that you haven't missed any of the little pieces along the way. This is already really thick because of all of the pieces, so it's going to be really dimensional when it's all finished with the foam squares. As with all my layered designs, we'll start at the bottom and work upwards, so I need to move all these pieces apart now. I'm going to try and keep them in their little groups, seeing as I've gone to the effort of putting it all in order already. The very bottom bit of the design is the blue for the sky, and then we've got the off-white colour of fence to go on first with foam squares. Turn it upside down and get your foam. This is a bit hard to see as it's white on my white table, but I'm going to start by going around the edge with my foam squares. I'm also going to try and get some inside all of the bits of the fence. If your foam squares are too big, then cut them smaller with scissors. You want to make sure your foam is completely contained by the cardstock and none of it goes over any of the edges or any gaps in the design. Otherwise, you'll be able to see the foam from the front, which we don't want. Now that I've worked my way around the edges and the fence posts, I'm also going to add some foam squares into this big area here. If you leave big areas with no foam, it can dip downwards under the weight of everything that's about to go on top, so it's always a good idea to make sure you've got some in the middle of larger areas of card. This keeps it level and gives you a more consistent 3D appearance once everything's put together, like that. Now I can peel the tops off of all my foam squares to reveal the stickiness underneath. Bring the sky piece back in and we're going to line this up and then gently drop it down. The reason for gently dropping is that if you're not quite happy with the positioning, it won't have stuck yet, so you can pick it up and move it and nothing will be damaged. Have a look, lift it up if you need to. I'm happy with that, so I'll push down to stick. The next layer is the pure white of the fence to go on with glue. Then we've got this piece to go on next with foam squares. Once again, line it up, gently drop down, and then push to stick. You might find it easier to do what I'm doing and rotate the design slightly so that you've got the bottom line to use to get it nice and straight and lined up. Next up is the lighter green, and this is glued. Next is the bottom layer of the teddy bear to do with foam squares. For this one, it's easiest to use the head to line it up on because you don't have the base where the feet are. Next is the detail around his back arm and his feet to glue on. Next is the white layer for his t-shirt to glue on. The next few layers will all be glued. Then it's the outline piece to be glued also. Then the solid green of his dungarees to glue. Then the detail of his dungarees to glue. For this layer, be very careful when placing it on that you don't push down heavily, because that can cause the glue to smush out of these thin lines in the dungarees and become visible, which we don't want if we can help it. Then we've got the brown for his front arm. Again, we're gluing. You might be wondering why there are so many pieces here, and it's because I wanted to build up the arms to look realistic, like this one was in front of this one because you stood at a little bit of an angle. But we don't need foam squares because then it would be kind of too much depth, then it would start looking a little bit odd, especially when all the head is on top, because that's a lot of pieces too. But because we're adding so many bits of cardstock, it's creating its own natural depth. So even though this is glued and everything we've done since the arm is glued, it does still look higher up than that one. Next is the detail for that front arm to glue. Now we've got the white for his t-shirt on the front of his arm to glue. Ooh, that's been a little bit messy there. Don't know if you can quite see, but my Cricut hasn't quite cut that neatly. Tidy it up. There we go. Then the detail layer around the edge to glue. Then we've got the green solid layer for the top of the dungarees to glue. This is the same sort of thing that I was talking about a little moment ago, where even though it's the same colour as the green, it's going to look like it's a lot further out than that one because of all the bits of cardstock in between them. Then we've got the detail for the outline of his dungarees to glue. Then the buttons on the front of his dungarees. You can either glue or use foam squares for these. Okay, now we're moving on to the head, starting with this bit with the two little holes for the ears. Turn it upside down and find your two yellowish or pale brown circles. These will glue to the back to cover up the holes in the ears. Oh, that was upside down. It was only upside down because I've used a textured cardstock for this, so I want the texture to be front facing. So that's covered up those holes, so when you look at it from the front, they're all filled in. Then we'll glue this piece on. Next up is the detail for his ears to glue also. Next up is the back of his hat to do with foam squares. We're finally onto foam squares again. Next up is the black piece with the holes for the eyebrows and the eyes. Turn it upside down. A little bit like we did on the ears, we've got brown and white circles to go behind the holes. Add a bit of glue around all of them. And the dark brown bits go over the eyebrows. And the white bits go over the whites of the eyes. Then this will be glued on the top. Then we've got the brown for the face to glue on. Then the detail bit around the edge of the head to glue. Be careful with this bit as it is very narrow, so you don't want to tear it by mistake. This is another one we'll have to be very careful when putting on to make sure the glue doesn't smush out and become visible. Then we've got the top of the hat to glue. The ribbon on the hat also to glue. Then the brim, and you've guessed it, we're gluing this bit too. Then we've got the larger bit of the green. This will be glued, as will the lighter green bit on top. That one, ooh, just knocked my glue over. Then the lighter green, we're gluing. Then foam square for the solid colour of the flower. A nice way to line it up is that this petal here, let's try and lift it up so you can see better. This one here, there it is thinner than all the others. So if you look at your little flower, look for the thinner petal, and then you can make sure it's all going on the right way. My glue was not dry for that bit underneath, so I just moved it. There we go. And then glue for the flower piece on top, and once again you can use that thin petal for lining it up. He looks slightly creepy at the minute without his facial details, so I think we should add those in. Just tidying up that leaf because I moved the glue about. There we are. Alright, what have we got? We'll start with his muzzle to do with foam squares. Trying to get the rotation right. Look at the little picture on the assembly guide or the Design and Design Space if you're not quite sure. And then his cheeks will be glued on either side, or you can do his nose next, it doesn't matter. You can leave the cheeks off if you prefer. I want to make him look like he's got nice rosy cheeks after a busy day gardening. Then his pink nose piece. This makes up the tongue. This will be glued on. And then the black bit on top to glue. Another thin bit to make sure your glue doesn't smush out. Okay, that's the teddy bear done. That's the complicated bit. Look how thick it is. There's so much going on there. Now we've got the butterflies and the flowers, and if you look, my flowers are not lining up very well here. You can see the dark green coming out because I moved it when it was still wet, or I didn't line it up very well to begin with. One of the two. But I think it will be okay because the flowers will help to cover some of that up. I'll do the butterflies first, and there's one over here on his hand, and then one over here in the background. The bottom layers will have foam squares, and for little bits like this it's easier to add the foam directly on the design. The yellow one on the left and pink on the right. I think in the assembly guide this butterfly is actually first, which actually would be easier because now I've got to fight with the teddy bear, but it was still okay. Okay, next up, the detail layer of each butterfly. First the coloured bit and then the black for the body, and they will all be glued. I think for the body it'd be easier to put the glue straight on there. And these bits are very thin. Okay. There's the little butterflies. Now we're on to the flowers. Start off with foam square for the darker bit. I'm doing the left flowers to begin with. Then foam square for the back layer of each of the flowers themselves. That's the darker colour for each one. And then glue on the front colours. Then glue finally the grass along the bottom. Same for this side. It's 3 flowers this time instead of 2, but the layering is the same. So foam squares first for the dark green. Foam for the back layers of the flowers. Glue for the top layer of the flowers. And last piece, phew, finally, glue for the bottom grass. And that is our incredibly in detail teddy bear. Look at all of that depth. He is now all finished. I hope that you enjoyed this video on how to make this adorable little spring bear for the final day of the Spring Craft Countdown. Let me know in the comments below the video which was your favourite project from this countdown. I'm also after a little name for my brand new teddy bear design, so if you can think of the perfect name for him, again, leave it in the comments and I'd love to know your thoughts. I have a feeling we'll be seeing him again very soon with a slightly different outfit going on. But for now, if you want to see more of this little bear, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts, free SVGs and all around papercraft fun. Thank you so much for following along with me over the past 14 days. Thank you for watching. Bye!